Hello. Hello. This is my first YouTube live. Welcome in, everyone. So, today we are going to be discussing metabolic health and metabolic conditions, metabolic health explained, really in a very organized and efficient and easy to understand way. I'm actually going to use a diagram to really kind of help. So for visual learners out there, that way you'll be able to, fully see and understand. So before we begin, I'm going to break down what metabolic health really is. So, metabolic health is all the chemical processes in the body, and we break that down into three main areas just for simplicity's sake. We're going to look at digestion as a whole, and digestion is not just what you're eating, but what you're breaking down. So, that's kind of the top of your metabolic health. It's digestion and breaking down your food. Then we look at your metabolism. So, your metabolism is really that engine of the car. So if your food is your fuel, your metabolism is really the engine that it's all running through. And then the last phase of metabolism is detoxification. So that's that exhaust pipe leaving. So we're going to fuel, we're going to run through the engine, and then we're going to eliminate the waste. And so those are the three steps and the three parts. And that's how we're going to break this down even further. So let me find this diagram. Hold on 1 second. I'm still learning how this whole thing goes. So bear with me. Oh, that's not it. Yeah, I'm trying to see how I can flip the camera around. Oh, I don't think I can figure it out quite yet because this is, yeah. All right. So I apologize. I will work out technical things and figure out how to utilize it. So let's kind of work on, our auditory. So, all right. So, digestion. Digestion is the first step. It's how we're fueling our body. We have three macronutrients that we utilize: our proteins, our fats, and our carbohydrates. Our proteins we use for repairing and healing our body. Our carbohydrates we use for short term energy. And then our fats we use more for our long term energy, as well as for things like our hormones, as well as our brain. And so those are our three macronutrients, and we use those in different ratios, right, to fuel our body. That is an aspect of calories. So calories are actually how much fuel we're putting into our body, right? And then it's subdivided into different aspects of it, which are your macros. So if we're using the analogy about our fuel, let's say we've got like refined or unrefined, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't work like that, but you know what I'm saying. So we have our calories, which is all the energy that's going in, and then that's broken down into our macronutrients, our proteins, our fats, and our carbs. Now, we break those down even further, right? So macro meaning big, those are our big areas. And then we break down our proteins into amino acids, then keto acids before we get to the doorway of metabolism. Our carbohydrates we break down into glucose, sugar, before we get to the doorway of metabolism. And then our fats we break down into fatty acids, glycerol, cholesterol before we get into metabolism. Now, there's nutrients involved to help that breakdown process. So, as an example, our proteins require hydrochloric acid, that's stomach acid, in order to break that down, right? They also require B complexes as well, right? They also require lipoate as well, right? Same thing with carbohydrates. Our carbohydrates require, maybe they don't require as much stomach acid as proteins. However, they do require your B complexes and lipoic acid. So let's say if you're deficient in B complexes, that's why I recommend everybody to be on a B complex, because it's going to help with so many different systems. It's going to help you digest better. It's going to help you metabolize better. B's are just so necessary for our organs to work and function. So fats are a different story though. Fats, we need carnitine, which is an amino acid, lysine and leucine put together, and that creates carnitine, and that helps us to break down our fats. A lot of times people are carnitine deficient for various different reasons, precursors and all. And so we need those additional nutrients in order to make that chemical process happen. And a lot of times people are not eating enough calories, so they're not fueling their engine properly, right? And then those ratios are all over the place. They're not eating enough protein, so their bodies are not able to repair. They're eating way too much fat, which is bogging them down. And then the carbohydrates usually are all over the place, and maybe they're doing, carbohydrate spikes and all kinds of stuff. So we look at that in terms of how we're digesting and assimilating. So when I'm working with a patient, no matter what kind of condition they have, whether that is chronic disease or they're trying to prevent something or mental health issue or whatever, they're trying to lose weight, all of the things begin with diet, how you're fueling the body. You cannot supplement a poor diet. I mean, you can if you want to be dependent upon supplements. So we want to get the diet to about 80% healthy. That's 80% balanced. And then we put a supplement. That way you're not dependent upon supplements, because that's what a supplement is. It's there to supplement. It's not there to replace or fix or that kind of thing, right? So we get the digestion assimilation. Now, when we're getting into the metabolism, we're getting into the engine. That's where all of our vitamins, our minerals, another term for our metabolism, citric acid cycle or the Krebs cycle. Those are other terms. And so it is a wheel, right? So it comes in one area, and there's I think if memory serves, there's 6 channels that it goes through, and each one of those channels has different aspects that's needed, different micronutrients. So minerals, maybe it needs CoQ10 in one area, maybe it needs mag in another area, maybe it needs, more antioxidants in another area. So it's moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. And while it's moving, it's distributing all of these nutrients. So this is where the assimilation process, so the metabolism's occurring in the liver, and then the assimilation process of those nutrients, are going into the small intestines and absorbing, and then your small intestines is carrying them wherever they need. So if you have things in the liver, i.e., you have mold or heavy metals or chemicals or viruses or things like that, that's going to slow metabolic process down. Or if you're eating too much fat in your diet, even healthy fat, you're going to slow metabolic process down. And then what happens is that small intestines is just going to start to putrefy, lots of different unhealthy bacteria, gassing and bloating, maybe some yeast, all kinds of things begin to happen in that small intestines, which then, of course, inhibits and makes it more difficult to absorb the nutrients, your vitamins and minerals, right? So that there's a lot of different nutrient deficiencies that can happen. So again, if you're not eating healthy, right, you're not eating enough calories, you're not eating balanced macronutrients, you're not breaking them down properly, and then you're not metabolizing properly, you're not going to have much to assimilate. You're not going to have much nutrition to actually process and get to the organ systems they need, which is why majority of the immune system, hormonal system, and neurological system is all housed in the GI tract, because of the bacteria, because of all of the nutrients that are in there. So as we're working on and as we're healing, right, we want to go in order again from digestion, what we're eating, we want to break that down, assimilate it, and metabolize it. And then on the other side, the other doorways, there's 2 doorways of metabolism. You have acetyl-CoA, and then you have NAD, right? So, or NADH. So you have those 2 right? Doorways. So on the other doorway, the other side is your body's ability to detoxify. So all of the waste. So you've got the fuel, you're metabolizing all of the nutrients, you're assimilating everything you need, and then your body is eliminating the natural waste. A lot of times people will rush in and they'll want to detoxify first. They're like, oh, I'm not feeling well, so I'm going to just detox. Well, if you detox and you're not feeling well, right? If you don't have enough energy, if your diet is not good, you're really going to harm yourself because you're not necessarily staging it properly. If your body doesn't have enough energy just to do, normal processes, it's definitely not going to have enough energy to detoxify. So that's a big mistake when people just drop in and try to detox. Plus, too, a lot of times we don't even know what to detox from. So because there could be anything trapped in the liver, like I said, some of the things are viruses, mold, different heavy metals, chemicals, all kinds of things, a combination thereof. So we want to really work on getting the body, tapping into the wisdom of the body in order to heal itself. How do we do that? We do that with making sure we have enough calories. We do that with balancing our macros. We do that with making sure we can break those down. We make sure that we metabolize. And even if we can't metabolize everything properly, that's where those supplements come in to help speed that process up before we even detoxify. So then when we're moving from our metabolism speeding up to detoxifying, right? We want to prep the body. What do you mean by prepping? You mean by, getting your drainage pathways prepared. What's a drainage pathway, right? So we have two types of drainage pathways. We have primary drainage pathways and we have secondary drainage pathways. Our primary drainage pathways are our primary eliminatory organs, which are our liver, our lungs, our kidneys, our large intestines, our blood, and our lymph. Those are our 5 primary eliminatory organs. Now, when those eliminatory organs are eliminating, they're going to lean to secondary ones, right? The secondary ones, there are 3 of them. There's sinuses, the skin, and the reproductive organs. So if you have an imbalance in your sinuses, your skin, or your reproductive organs, guess what? You have some issues with your primary eliminatory organs. So before we're even going to take the first detox, whatever, we're going to make sure that those drainage pathways are flowing and open. Because why? If you start to detoxify different things, your body's going to hold on to it. If your body holds on to it, what's going to happen? You're going to make yourself sicker. You're going to just drive those toxins deeper into your cell wall. So we want to be mindful when people are just kind of willy-nilly, oh, take this detox this and take this detox that, especially without lab work, because you can do a lot of damage without even being aware. So metabolism is pretty much, that's how it's broken down: what you're eating, how you're digesting, how you're assimilating, and then of course how you are detoxifying naturally. Now, in order to prevent metabolic diseases, right, we want to make sure that we are mindful of 3 different things. We want to make sure, so what's a metabolic disease? First off, most diseases, pretty much all, are metabolic driven, meaning that process that I went over, there are breakdowns, right? But your traditional metabolic conditions are going to be your hypertension, your diabetes, your obesity. Those are kind of your primary metabolic conditions. However, autoimmunity is also a metabolic condition. Hormonal imbalance is also a metabolic condition. PCOS is also a metabolic condition. So don't count out some of those other ones that you may, Alzheimer's, dementia, all of those things are metabolic diseases. All diseases begin from breakdowns in the metabolism, because that's how our engine of our car works. That's how our bodies function. So when we're broken down on the side of the road with our car, what do we have to do? We have to go into the mechanic. They put the check engine light on, which in this case would be our lab, and then we assess and we run all these diagnostics to try to get to the root of it, right? So when we have when we're looking at trying to heal or prevent, right, we look at nutrient deficiencies, right, making sure that we have enough energy going in so that the body can do all of its chemical processes safely and healthy and effective. So that's number one. Number two, we want to make sure that our bodies are clearing and detoxifying properly, because as we mentioned before, if your detox pathways are clogged, for lack of a better term, or you're holding on to toxicity for whatever reason, right? Then of course your body's going to get sicker and sicker and sicker. So it's really just energy in, toxins out. So let's say if it's the opposite, let's say there's not enough energy coming in and the toxins are building. What happens? Organ function is going to go down. If organ function goes down, eventually where it's leading you to disease process. So in order to heal any sort of disease process that has accumulated, we have to do it in reverse order. So we go, okay, how do we improve organ function? Right? We're not going to jump to detoxification because we talked about that. We want to make sure we start at the beginning. That's why it's kind of frustrating when you work with a doctor like me, because we're trained to start at the end and then work our way back, rather than starting at the beginning when it all started and working our way through. You can't heal from the same state or space that the disease happened, just like with behavior. You can't heal with using the same behavior and the same strategies that got you sick. It's not going to work, right? And so it's a whole different thinking. It's a whole different emotional state. It's all these different actions that have to take place in order for you to get well, in order for you to heal. And how do we do that? Quite simply, right? We want to work on our diet. So a lot of people don't have structure around their diet. They're unconscious to their diet. They either skip meals, or they don't pay attention to what they're eating, or they have lots of reasons around why they can't track or why they can't be conscious of what they're eating and how they're assimilating. And so they're not being aware. Well, if you're unconscious to something, what happens? Boom, it happens out of nowhere. So then that's when you go into the doctor and they say, oh, you have a diabetes or you have hypertension or whatever. And you're shocked because you go, oh my gosh, where did this happen? This didn't just happen out of nowhere. Diseases don't just happen out of nowhere. It is consistent breakdowns in your metabolism that contribute to that. So we want to make sure, right, that we are present and accounted for, that we are conscious and aware of what it is that we're doing. Right? And so wherever you are in your health journey, it's okay. We're going to get into some action items now. All right. So this is the formula that I have found to be successful when working with patients, right? I've worked with a lot of patients over the years. All right. So here we go. So first things first, we want to start with our mindset, right? Why do we want to start with mindset first? Because that's what is going to help us sustain, right? So we want to make a conscious decision that we're ready to get well, right? So before we go out, run, grab the gym membership, eat all the food, whatever, we want to make a conscious decision that enough is enough. We're tired of being unwell and then we're ready to do something different. So that's the first step, right? Check. All right. So now from there, we want to add our water, right? Why do we want to add our water? Because water hydrates us. We don't know, a lot of diseases, including hypertension, comes from chronic dehydration. So we want to make sure we're drinking half of our body weight in ounces in water. So literally put yourself on the scale, divide that by 2. That's how many ounces of water you need to drink in a day. Now, again, that's going to be a little bit of a journey, because if you haven't been drinking any water, right, your body's going to have to adjust. So, we have to create a structure in place for that. So structure is really important so that we have execution of habits. So how do we do that? We go, okay, let's say I need to have, I don't know, 90 ounces of water in my day. How am I going to get that? Okay. So I'm going to go get a bottle, let's say of 24 ounces of water, right? And so I am going to now break that 24 up. I'm going to divide the 90 into 4, and it comes close. It's not exact, but we'll go, okay, so I'm going to drink 4 24-ounce containers throughout the day. So that's my structure, right? So when I wake up, I'm going to drink it. between lunch and dinner, between breakfast and lunch, between lunch and dinner, and maybe an hour or two before bed. That's how I'm going to structure my water. And then I'm just going to work on that, right, consistently, deliberately over an extended period of time, because I want to make this where it's out. It's just a routine. It's just something that I do. Once I get that down, right, then I'm going to build from there, right? And I may be able to work on one or two at a time, but in the beginning, when we're going from I'm not doing anything to now I'm working on something, we want to really kind of be mindful and kind of work slow. So once we get our water down, now we want to start with our protein, right? So how many grams of protein? So I'm going to Google macro calculator. There's some good ones out there. We have one on our website. There's also one on bodybuilder.com that's pretty accurate. And so I'm going to type in my metrics, my height, my weight, my activity level, if I need to lose weight, gain weight, etc. And it's going to calculate for me, right? If you're trying to lose weight, typically you're going to be 40-40-20. That's 40% of your caloric intake is going to come from carbohydrates, 40% is going to come from your protein, and 20% is going to come from your fat. You never really should be above 25% ratio of your total caloric intake. Why? Because anything more than that is going to overwork the liver. It's not going to be able to keep with bile production and to emulsify the fat. And then you have biliary stasis issues and gallbladder issues. And it starts to whack out your hormonal health and your cognitive health. I'm not a big keto fan. It's not sustainable. I teach sustainability. I teach something that's going to be more of a lifestyle, not something that is a fad. And that's why I focus on macros, because that's how biochemistry is built. All right. So we go to our macro calculator. We just are going to focus on our proteins first. Why are we going to focus on our proteins first? Because proteins help our body to repair and heal. And so we want to repair and heal, right? If we've been sick or we've been unconscious for a long time, repairing and healing is going to be our top priority. So let's start with repairing and healing. So we're just going to focus on hitting our protein number. We're not going to focus on any other number. Why are we going to do that? Because that's how we're going to build our meals. So we take how many protein grams that we need in a day, and we divide it by how many times we want to eat in a day. And then that's how we do it. So if we want, let's say we need 100 grams of protein in a day, and we want to eat 4 times a day, that's 25 grams of protein 4 times a day. So now I'm going to look for what is going to give me, 25 grams of protein. So let's say I'm going to eat 1 piece of fish. One piece of white fish is about 20 grams of protein, right? If I pair that with quinoa and black beans, I'm going to go over my 25 grams of protein. So now I'm building my meals with that and structuring, and I can talk more about meal planning in another video, but you start to get the idea of how you can make this sustainable, because this is a lot of times a big mountain in front of you, right? You have a certain lifestyle that either you've learned or you've adapted to, or you've lived your entire life, and now you're unwell, right? Your back is up against the wall because you're getting older or whatever else, and aging is not a prerequisite for poor health. What's happening is a lack of education and understanding. So now I'm going to have to learn, like I'm back in school. I'm going to have to learn, okay, 4 ounces of chicken breast has 35 grams of protein in it. 1 piece of white fish has about 20 grams of protein in it. 1 avocado has 22 grams of fat. Oh my gosh, that's way too much fat for me in a day. I'm going to have to start learning these things. I need to learn these things, right? I'm going to start having to explore, okay, I like to eat like this, or I want to eat like this, or I don't like protein shakes. I'd rather do protein bars instead. All of these different things are part of your exploration, a part of your self-care. This is things that take years to develop. These are habits that are going to take time. Obviously, if you work with a provider like me, I can give you all the shortcuts. If you join my Discord, which is my private online community, I drop all kinds of gems and bombs in there. So please look for the link below that we'll set up after the live. And that way you can join the community, and you can either ask questions in there about what some options are, or you can scroll through some of the community resources that we put in. So you're going to need to start to learn. So once you get your proteins up and your fats down, right, now we want to get your calories up. And this is going to take over a 3-month period. So let's say we go, okay, so month 1, after my water's done naturally, month 1, protein up. I'm going to hit my protein numbers, right? Then month 2, my fat is coming down, right? Because before I was unconscious, so I wasn't eating enough calories. I was eating way too little protein and then tons of fat. So again, I've treated over 40,000 patients and they've tracked their food for me. So I've seen patterns over time. That's why I'm going with this. I know people are like, oh, I'm such a unique snowflake. No, you're not. Most people, and they'll give me all the reasons why they don't like to track and all the things. I'm used to it, right? There's just some sort of emotional mental block that's in the way, and we can clear all that out of the way so that there's more action and there's more access, right? We don't have to suffer through things. It doesn't have to be difficult. We can actually make it fun and easy if we choose. All right, so proteins up, fats down, calories up, carbs will balance themselves. We don't even have to worry about that. Once we get our foundation of our eating nutrition 80% healthy, we don't have to be perfect. I really recommend at least one cheat meal per week. Now we're going to add supplements, right? Now supplements are based off of your lab work. Definitely, I think everybody should be on a strong multivitamin that's healthy, that's measurable. I don't typically recommend kind of food grade supplements just because they're difficult to, food is imperfect, so it's difficult to replicate nutrients. So I typically do recommend a nutraceutical. If you want a recommendation, please drop a comment below and I'll provide recommendations for you for that. A nice multivitamin and then a B complex like we're talking about, and maybe a digestive enzyme could definitely be helpful, as well as really more of a foundational supplement piece. The rest of those, supplements, it just really depends on your labs, but those are the 3 ones that I really think are important for everybody. That's going to be your strong, nice multivitamin, your B complex, and then like a digestive enzyme so that it will help you to digest. Because remember, when you were not eating healthy, you are damaging your digestive tract. So this is a way to help you to process. Now, there's all kinds of other things that we could do: hydrochloric acid, minerals, antioxidants. There's lots of different supplements you could take after you kind of get those foundational pieces in order. And so we want to get those foundational pieces in order so that you can digest, assimilate, and metabolize. Once you've gotten that going and now you're speeding up your metabolism, right? Now you're going to prep your body for detoxification. How do you do that, right? Infrared dry sauna 3 times a week. That's going to help internally. It's going to help you to burn things off: bacteria, viruses, parasitic infections, etc. It's been scientifically proven. Tons of research out there, right? We're also going to perhaps do an Epsom salt and baking soda bath: 1 cup Epsom salt, 1 cup baking soda, aluminum free when you can. So that those are actually natural heavy metal chelators. We can throw some cilantro, some parsley in a smoothie, right? Have a green smoothie. That's a detox smoothie. It's really, to the point of trying to get those drainage pathways open. You can use a dry brush, lightly dry brush. You can Google, dry brushing patterns of the body, because there are certain lymphatic channels and you have to know which way to be able to dry brush so that you're able to clear those detox pathways. So you do that for a few weeks, and then you do an actual detoxification process. So there's all kinds of different things out there in the market. Again, when I'm looking at patients, I will look at their labs. I do a 21-day organ detox if you're interested in that, because we really don't know. Health is not an absence of symptom of disease. It's a state that we're creating every single day. So a lot of times people can be what we call asymptomatic, A meaning absence of symptom. They're not even aware. They're unconscious, right? And we're moving into this age of awareness. We're moving into this age of consciousness. So now people are more aware. So how do we want to be aware? We want to use our data. Where do we get the data from? We get the data from running our labs and having those interpreted. So being able to look at it, not from a standard allopathic perspective. Remember, your medical doctor, they're trained to look for and diagnose and manage the disease. That is their purpose. And we love them for that, because they need to be there watching at the door and making sure none of the invaders come in. However, doctors like me, again, we're looking for nutrient deficiencies in the body, accumulated toxins, overall organ health and function, and areas of prevention. So we're looking to prevent things before they become a problem. A lot of times patients will come into my practice and they're say, oh, my labs look normal. No, what happened was you don't have a disease to manage, but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily healthy. So we may look at and consider doing some sort of live on laboratory assessment. So Then once we detox our bodies, we run new labs, and then we can go deeper into the digestive system. But that's kind of your, 4-month plan, if you will, of getting the body back into alignment and getting your metabolic health in order. So just to recap before I end our live, we're going to focus on digestion and assimilation. What does that look like? We're going to look at our calories, making sure we have enough energy going in. We're going to also look at our macronutrients, our proteins, our fats, and our carbohydrates. We're going to make sure that we're breaking that down in the stomach, and then we're metabolizing it in the liver. How do we know that's happening properly? I look at labs. However, you can look at how your body is feeling, right? We rebalance those macronutrients. I suggest you start with proteins up, fats down, calories up. Then you hit your carbohydrates, no problem. And that, of course, it's after you drink your half of your body weight in ounces in water. So water, protein, fat down, then calories up. Then your last thing is your carbohydrates will balance themselves. And then you look at all your metabolic health supplements. Those are going to be your strong multivitamin, your B complex, and maybe a digestive enzyme to help keep everything moving. And then from there, you're going to really start to get the body ready and prep for detoxification, maybe a dry brush, infrared dry sauna 3 times a week. Definitely drink lots and lots and lots of water to flush that out. And you also may consider, if you don't have access to a dry sauna, just a nice warm hot bath, 1 cup Epsom salt, 1 cup baking soda, swimming around, that kind of thing, for about 20-30 minutes, again, 3 times a week. And once you've done that for a few weeks, now you're ready for an oral detoxification. That is a whole nother topic, whole nother conversation. And we do look at labs for that. So I won't be able to give you kind of something off the cuff, but some of the things that are really good for the liver, naturally, are going to be your milk thistle, your dandelion root tea, artichokes in food, really good. Cilantro, parsley are also heavy metal chelators. So that's all certain things that can really help with the liver and keeping your metabolic health healthy. All diseases begin and end from breakdowns in the metabolism. And so we want to make sure that we are doing various different things to prevent that. So making sure we have plenty of nutrition, not just what we're eating, but what we're digesting and assimilating. Make sure that we were detoxifying our bodies properly, making sure we're clearing toxins, also making sure that our organ function is healthy. And so how do we make sure that our organ health is functioning properly? We make sure we have enough nutrients coming in, enough toxins going out to bring the body back into balance. And that's going to help us to prevent diseases. So common metabolic conditions, root causes of those. Let's start with hypertension before we sign off. Hypertension, number 1 cause of hypertension is dehydration. So most people that present with hypertension are not drinking half their body weight in ounces in water. They're barely drinking anything. So we want to get them hydrated, number 1. Then we want to look at their arginine. Arginine is an amino acid. We can check that nitric oxide uncoupling. You can Amazon a nitric oxide test strip. You can, order it right to your home. Put it in your mouth. If you're depleted, it'll barely be like white, light pink. If you have plenty of it, then you will. It'll be bright pink. And so what we're looking for with that nitric oxide, especially if hypertension is genetically predisposed to you, the nitric oxide goes uncoupled and then arginine goes down. And so that will indicate, that little test strip will indicate if that nitric oxide is low. That way you'll know that you need to use arginine. Arginine is a precursor to nitric oxide, so it'll start to bring some blood flow back in. I also love chlorella or spirulina. I put that in water as well to build your blood, and those B complexes are critical for that. Also, we look at stress management. Naturally, if you're a perfectionist, you hold everything in. You definitely want to get some magnesium because that's super helpful, but you also want to learn how to breathe, not take yourself and the world so seriously. I know that may be difficult. SAMe can also help with that as well. So we want to make sure, that you're learning how to de-stress, right? And your diet has to be clean. So we want no higher than 1,500 milligrams of sodium with your diet. And so to make sure that you balance everything out, your electrolytes. So sodium and potassium, you're not driving that sodium, which is, of course is going to drive that blood pressure. Now there's some other issues too with hypertension. There's structural issues. There's ACE variants and things like that, glutathione deficiencies. We can get all into that in a different live, but at least I want to kind of give you some idea with that. Diabetes, it's not necessarily about the glucose, although the glucose obviously is not processing efficiently. Why would the glucose not be processing efficiently? Because people are eating more of their simple carbohydrates. They're not eating enough calories. They're going nutrient depleted. They're not eating enough protein, and they're loading up on simple carbohydrates because their body's getting, their energy levels are tanking. So carbohydrates, especially simple carbs, are going to give you that little up really quick. So, you can feel your amino acids dropping, right? So when you haven't eaten, right, you get quote unquote hangry. That's because your amino acids are coming down. Where do we get amino acids from? From our proteins. So we break down proteins into amino acids and keto acids, right? So our amino acids are coming down, right? And so our inclination to bring energy back up really quick is glucose. Like, oh, let me go get some bread. Let me go get some fruit. Let me go, pop it up really quick. But you still haven't addressed the amino acid issue. So that's why when a person has diabetes type 2, specifically type 1 is a whole nother animal, because now the pancreas is involved and it's not producing enough insulin. A lot of that's congenital issues. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of natural options we can do to replace insulin, nor is it safe or effective. So here's what we do with a type 2, right? We want to make sure we want to focus protein, not carbs, protein. Once you start to eat the amount of proteins that you need, then you're going to get the amino acids. Now you can biohack it a little bit, especially if you don't have enough hydrochloric acid, which is stomach acid, to break down proteins. You can put an amino acid supplement in there. That's kind of a way to kind of cheat the system. But you still need to get that protein and amino acids. Protein will stabilize your glucose, and amino acids will definitely keep all systems a go, including your hormonal system and your neurological system as well. So we focus on that, right? We also have to get the fat down because the liver is stressed out. It cannot keep up with the bile production that you're putting it under. But a lot of times people, with diabetes are not sweet to themselves, not loving to themselves, not kind to themselves. So they just fill up on fat to be able to self-soothe because they didn't learn how to self-soothe using other tools. So definitely learn some emotional coping tools. I do have a 30-day to emotional healing. It teaches you 30 plus tools. You get one every single day for 15 minutes that teaches you how to self-soothe all different emotions, from anger to frustration to whatever you have going on, because we want to learn that so that we're not internalizing that. Let me see what else I can say with diabetes. Diabetes, of course, is a metabolic disorder, so movement is going to be important, but we have to get the diet in balance first. Walking, just nice walking. You don't even have to run or anything crazy like that. Please don't run if you're not a runner or you don't have a runner's body, because you'll hurt yourself. So how do you know you have a runner's body? You're like a little thing like this, right? My husband has a runner's body. I have a power body. I'm like, I can lift a car, but I don't have me run anywhere. And so we want to make sure we recognize, our body type and how it works. Not to say that I couldn't adapt to it. And I did run 3 miles, consistently in my younger years. However, my body's just not made for it. So I tore up my different joints. So that primarily, diabetes is a lot more with discipline, really getting in the diet. And it does take some time. Now, good supplements for that obviously are going to be your chromium, your berberine. They can help control the blood glucose, but primarily you really want your protein and your amino acids to be doing the heavy lifting on that. And you're going to have to clean your liver out, definitely, because a lot of times with those particular conditions, you've just been filling it up with fat. You may also have to flush your gallbladder out, which is a whole nother process I can talk about in a different live if we want. All right. Another metabolic condition is hyperlipidemia, or high cholesterol. So some people are genetically predisposed to it, but also too, high cholesterol can come from a short chain fatty acid issue, a fiber issue as well. So it may not even be an actual liver issue, although most of the lipid panel is coming from the liver. So definitely when you have high cholesterol, think liver, potential fatty liver. So what do we need to do? Increase protein, decrease fats to bring that into balance, right? Really want to make sure that we are, keeping our liver nice and strong and healthy, et cetera, and keeping it processing effectively, making sure we've got magnesium on board, making sure we've got B complexes on board, specifically B6, very helpful, especially for prevention of cardiac risk and cardiac disease. Another thing that can mimic the effects of statin. Now, naturally, statins, if you are on a statin drug to lower your cholesterol, you are going to have to take CoQ10. Why? Because it depletes CoQ10. So statin medications take out half the body's ability to detoxify itself via the electron transport chain, which is also why a lot of people, especially elderly people, have different reactions. You also can't be on them long term because it will strip out those B complexes. So if you are on a statin, make sure that you're having B complex and CoQ10. CoQ10 is a network antioxidant for the heart. So when we're looking at what a statin actually does, it blocks that cholesterol in that electron transport chain. It is blocking half the body's ability to detoxify. That's why people have the joint issues, but it also is going to block CoQ10, that network antioxidant that we need for our heart. So biochemically, really not the greatest of medications, but I understand if people choose to do that. You can mimic that same mechanism of action. What's the mechanism of action? Mechanism of action is how something affects your body biochemically. So herbs are medicine, right? And they have quote unquote mechanisms of action, pharmaceutical mechanism of action, even though they're not patented because naturally occurring substances cannot be patented. But they do take part of a naturally occurring substance and combine it with a synthetic, and you can patent that as a pharmaceutical. So a statin medication is a patented version of red yeast rice. So you have to, if you want to use red yeast rice as a substitute, right, of course, talk to your doctor. This is not medical advice, just general information. You also want to be mindful of your dosing and the time, because it can create the same symptoms that we were just talking about, even though it's a naturally occurring substance. That's why in natural medicine, it's all about precision, right, of recommendation. And that's why I do everything with labs, because you could be moving different things, left, right, up and down that you may not want. And of course, I took an oath to first do no harm that I take very seriously, which is why I didn't become an allopathic doctor. So with all of that being said, that's what we can do for hyperlipidemia. Naturally, you got to really get your diet in order. Short chain fatty acids. Keto is horrible if you have any kind of hyperlipidemia. Please do not do keto. Not a good thing. It doesn't hold up in labs, and you're not processing fats as it is. Also, too, make sure you have carnitine on board. Remember, carnitine is two amino acids put together. Lysine and leucine does help you to process and metabolize fats properly. You can also do some bile support supplements as well, some bile salts and things like that, because that can help emulsify, but you really want to keep your fat down. If you've already had your gallbladder removed, congratulations. I mean, we need our gallbladders, so try to keep it in the body if you can. But let's say you have stones and you have a health risk or whatever, you will have to be on an enzyme called lipase the rest of your life. They won't tell you that because that's not a part of their education. It's just to take the organ out, and we love them for that. However, just be aware that now, in order to emulsify the fats and to take some of the pressure off of the liver, you're going to need to take lipase to assist, because that, and the gallbladder's gone, but your biliary stasis is still there. So that little tree there between the gallbladder and the liver, so that could still get clogged up. So just be mindful of that. So those are some of the standard metabolic conditions that most people kind of deal with naturally. There's obesity and metabolic syndrome. That's kind of a combination thereof. That's when you have the big kind of belly, even though you're not pregnant, you got the big belly out to here. Naturally, that's going to be diet, and lack of movement. So you're just filling up on steak and potatoes all day long, and you're not moving your body, not going anywhere. So you're getting a big pregnant belly. So we want to not do that, because naturally, the longer that all that visceral fat stays around your organs, the more that's going to put you in alignment for hypertension, diabetes, hyperlipidemia. And guess what? If you get hypertension, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, they call that the trifecta. The trifecta then leads to kidney failure. So, and then, but it's okay, if you get kidney failure, because they have this wonderful treatment called dialysis that you get to come in and be a very special patient. And you get to come in a few times every single week and have them filter your blood, because your kidneys can't filter it anymore. So, and there's all different stages of kidney disease. And so, again, and then eventually they'll talk to you about kidney transplants as well. So, if you lost your gallbladder, might as well just give up a kidney too. I'm just joking. So we want to prevent disease rather than manage it. Just like an old car, the older you get, the more you're going to have to maintenance it. It's unfortunate. I didn't make up the rules. I'm so sorry. We're going to every single day, you're either building health or you're building disease. And that's the whole point, is you want to make sure that you're conscious and aware and present of what you need to do. Right. And so again, mindset, water, protein, fat down, calories up, movement, detoxification. These are all the things that we want to do to make sure that we keep well. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you. If you have any questions, I'm going to go on live on the YouTube once a week. And then, of course, I've got my other content that is our pre-recorded. So if there's anything you want me to touch on right now, I'm really talking a lot about metabolic health because it affects a lot of people. And also too, it's really the basis of all diseases. So it's a good place to start with people. If you have any questions, let me know. I have tons of courses. Some are free, some are paid, low cost, lots of access. And also too, I have a metabolic health course that I'll be launching towards the end of the month. So if you want to join that, we're all going to be working together as a group, as a team, to restore your metabolic health, fairly affordable as well. So look out for those videos. I'll be promoting it as kind of time goes on. Yeah, and I think that covers all the things. If you guys have any questions, I'll kind of hang around for a few moments, and then if there's no questions, also mention that I'm on TikTok Live, probably a little bit more than YouTube Live, because I do more of my pre-recorded content on YouTube and longer form content. I'll also figure out how to do the whole visual thing. I didn't really know how to do that, so we'll figure that out. But yeah, my TikTok Lives are about an hour as well, and I go over various topics. And so, yeah, so kind of in and out. So I do about 3 or 4 of those a week. And then my one YouTube Live, and I do teach a webinar, and I do also teach for private communities as well. Various different topics: nutrition, personal growth, self-development, mental health, emotional health, etc. So if you want to book me for any of that, let me know. All right. Beautiful. Well, I'm going to jump off. Thank you guys so much for attending. Hopefully you learned something. If not, I'm sorry, but jam-packed with information. And so I'll see you around the YouTube streets. Bye.